Welcome to Lashback, everyone. I'm Natalyan.
And I'm Phoebe. And this week we're going to talk about insecurities. So let's break that down. Over to you, Nat.
Yeah, so I do my usual little bit of Googling and sometimes a bit of AI. And I think it's interesting to talk about it because we were talking about this recently and even before this episode about certain insecurities and how they change over time. So when you're younger, for example, in your teens, your early 20s, you feel quite invincible, right? And then as you get older, you kind of realize the risks of things. So insecurities change. So what for you, Phoebe, has changed, you think, just off the top of your head? What's got better, what's got worse with time?
I think I used to have a lot more insecurities about what I looked like when I was a younger woman, certainly because that's what society does to us. And, I grew up in a time of fat shaming being normal. So, there's a lot of insecurities about appearance, fitting in, that I care less about now because I can't be bothered. But I might be a little bit more insecure now about whether my knee's going to start hurting if I go on that long walk.
It's funny you say that because I don't think I've ever had many insecurities about what I look like, but in terms of in my 20s, I did or didn't, and my 30s, I did or didn't, and so forth. But I have different periods of insecurities and different things of like a fear of aging and also society kind of, labels ages like you're over a certain age, so you can't do this, which is an insecurity of mine. Have I missed the boat on some dreams?
That's an interesting one because, of course, the answer is no, don't be ridiculous. You can do anything at any time you like. And, there's stories of people going back to university at 80 and becoming like really, an expert in something new, completely different than whatever they'd done before. But like, if you take like some career choices, like I'll never be a sportsman again. I didn't try and be a Olympic gold medal athlete when I was 18. And I'm certainly not going to achieve that now when I'm in my late 40s, just because that's physically impossible. So.
That's just reality, right? But I have always said that if you want an Olympian medal, there are some sports that you could still do it, like archery. You could suddenly have a
gunfighting. Not that I'd want to do that.
No, darts.
That is the truth, though, isn't it? And it's the same. Like, I wish I was a touring musician. Well, actually, no, I don't, because I like being at home. You know what I mean? I love touring as well, but it's not like wouldn't be a lifestyle choice. More like, I'm going to do a 2-week thing because it's good to do that for 2 weeks, rather than this is my lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'd do a 2-3 month. That I like the tours stuff, and I've done some stuff in Holland, Spain, and things like that. And but I have to do it. I can't do it in the old school sense of on a tour bus with 10 people. I'd have to be in a 5-star hotel with my own luxury.
So realistically speaking, would you want that life? I mean, no, it's my answer.
Yes, but for a quarter of the year. But I think the insecurities, I think that when I did a little bit of research, there's different types of insecurities, right? So you have physical insecurities, as you mentioned, emotional insecurities, we'll come back to that one. Identity changes, so your age, it says the role of the family community shifts with your age and what you understand yourself to be.
What you're getting into, like I'm a manager now, I'm a mother now, I'm a dad now,
Yeah. So it is an identity change. And, and equally, you and me have talked about this in other episodes.
I've had a sex change. I'm a man now.
Yeah, there's loads of different things.
You me insecure.
Absolutely. But I think one key thing that relates to you and me individually is that we haven't done things in the norm, get married, have kids, have a house. We've done all things skewed in our own, we've made our own path, like a lot of people have, but not what you traditionally say. So that can be an identity change because you're not the identity of maybe other 40-year-olds or something.
In relation to your peers, yeah.
Yes. So I think that's
contemporaries, one should say.
Yes. And that's, I don't think that's necessarily an
But
insecurity.
then, like, just to riff off that, you know, if you think about it, like motherhood being an interesting thing,
Yeah.
like the mother is one understood thing, but at any school gate, you might have a mum who had kids at 40 and a mum who had kids at 16, and the 16-year-old mum might be insecure about being so young and having such an old child compared to somebody that had a career first, or you know, insecurities around money. You know, you don't want people to let on that this restaurant's too expensive for you when it's all right for everyone else, or this restaurant's absolutely fine for you and it's not okay for anyone else. You know,
That's
there's
a really good point.
lots of insecurities around money, I think, in the world, because these things do talk to our status and our identity.
They really do. And I think another one that jumps to mind for me is that the older you get, the more kind of you get to know who you are, and you mature and handle situations better, but you still question yourself. What I do more than I thought I would at this age. I thought I'd have it completely figured out by now, but I
We've
still
got emotions, haven't we?
yeah, exactly. But I still question,
Yeah.
okay, I need to stand up for myself in this situation, whereas I wouldn't have done 10, 15 years ago. But now I've probably caused a rift. And was that the right thing to do? Because you question people, then you get sometimes backlash, right?
So the backlash, flashback. So
Yeah,
there is something there around if something's new to you, you might be more insecure if you were very practiced at it.
absolutely. Time does, I've always said this, well, not always, but recently, that even if someone's really mature at 20, they've still only been on the planet for 20 years versus 45, 50. Right? They've
I
had.
agree. I agree. It's like you know, like you might be well educated, really experienced, or whatever, but like without decades under your belt, you don't have the experience of seeing how things play out.
Yeah, you don't have the
Watching
same
how
time.
things play out is so important. That reflective practice, you know.
Yeah, there are certain things. That's why, to me, you're still a child at certain ages, and the whole relationship thing with people that are a hell of a lot younger. There's time does play a part in it. Again, you can be very mature, very intelligent, very experienced for your age, and maybe more experienced than people double your age, but you still haven't had this time on earth to go through certain things, to be able to handle the situation or learn about a situation. You're
You might
still.
argue.
Hmm?
You might argue, and I might be talking a bit about myself here, but like being very mature, albeit inexperienced at a young age, stands you in better stead for greater reflective practice as you do go through those times. Because I do know people who are my age and older who haven't really learnt the skill of reflection. So
Mm,
although they've had decades under their belt, they've paid no attention to how things play out and just repeat the same patterns and mistakes rather than
absolutely.
while I've got my head screwed on right and I'm fairly mature for my young age, and no, I don't have a lot of experience, but as I'm going forward into life with this ability to pay attention and change and develop, I'm going forward in a very different and much more secure way, you might argue, than somebody who's like la 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 la, everything's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Well, there's always exceptions to the rule, right? And I think that insecurities for me is definitely about. Well, it's a mixture for me personally. Is emotional insecurities of, okay, have
Oh
I
yeah,
had.
talk about emotions. You said we'd come back to that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, emotional insecurities. What it says here when I looked it up was the loss of a spouse or the need for support from children can lead to
Right.
feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. So again, that goes back to assuming that you've got a spouse or children. And aging can also bring about grief and loss of connection with your younger self. That's quite interesting.
I think I went through a really insecure moment after I've been ill. You know, I'd
Mm.
been through this whole ordeal, nearly died, had loads of treatment. And it's kind of weird when you're in a health crisis like that. You become the center of attention. Like you're on the hospital bed and all the health professionals are rallying around you and you're the center
Yeah.
of that stuff. 5 weeks of treatment was quite a long time. And all your friends I had a friend that would come around and bring me like a casserole once a week. Very sweet of her. It
Oh,
was exactly
that's
what
very
I
sweet.
needed as well.
Yeah.
Needed to eat well and somebody was looking out for me. And then, I get better and I go back to work and I remember
And
being
it
very
stops.
insecure. But
Yeah.
I just back in the workplace, not even my friends and family. And I'm
Mm.
not the center of attention anymore. And I'm back in a role. And it was nice because it felt like, oh, cool. Yeah. Back to normal. But also really insecure about, did I say the right thing? Is this how we do it here? Have I
Because
remembered
you're
what
not
I
getting
need
the
to remember?
attention you're used
I'm
to.
not
So
getting
you're
the
thinking,
validation. Yeah.
you're thinking, have I done something wrong? That makes perfect sense, though, that
Yeah.
you'd
And
feel
it
that.
was an adjustment.
Yeah.
It was a real adjustment. And also not talking about it, like it not becoming the conversation. She's banging on about her cancer again because it was still very present in my experience, and then me being like insecure about, well, did I go on a bit about but much about that because I'm still processing it, but I'm not hanging out with friends and family who are interested in helping me. I'm just in a meeting at work talking about some policy or whatever, and there I am banging on about my.
No, but you can't just suddenly, it's the same thing as grief, right? You're
Yeah.
grieving something, and you can't just, it's like when you lose somebody and everyone's reaches out to you and then the funeral has happened and then it stops. It's like, it doesn't just end for you. Like, you've just been through cancer, you might have beat it. It hasn't just ended. It's always a part of your life. So you can't, this is what I'd say. So that insecurity is you've got to allow yourself that, but it's completely understandable to have felt
Process.
the way you felt. Yeah. Good for
Yeah,
you.
to process, indeed.
Yeah.
So, what other emotional insecurities? One
Well, we've
more
kind of
before we
touched
sign off.
upon one more, and then we'll call it. But the other one that we've kind of talked about a little bit but I like the way they phrase this, is internalized age shame. So some individuals may
Shame.
internalize negative attitudes about aging, leading to feelings of guilt and embarrassment. This can affect mental health and self-esteem. So,
Always wearing sunglasses to hide the crow's feet.
yeah, do you think that that's what that means?
Well, I mean, we internalize shame all the time. It's like as a woman, how often have you internalized? You can't wear that because it's slutty. Well, that's an internalized
Yeah,
judgment because women aren't allowed to, or are allowed to, or shouldn't. Who knows what we're supposed to do in the patriarchy? But then also, like, somebody, from a I don't know, from a community that's had lots of prejudice towards it, and then they get continually bombarded with that prejudice, and then you internalize that barrier. Well, maybe I am a thief. Maybe I am aggressive. Maybe I can't be trusted just because that's the way everybody else treats you. And I think that's the same with age, particularly, of course, it's very present for you and I. But I've got to argue. I don't think a man has the same shame around age.
Oh, definitely not. And I think let's leave it with I've got a really interesting thought here, which has just occurred to me, is internalized age shame. I think the way that I do that is that because I wouldn't say I act younger, but I wear what I would
Yeah.
wear 15 years ago, hats, I'm running around on my own single, I think I'm sure we all think that, but look younger than my actual age, and people kind of assume I am younger than my age. And then I kind of have this internalized shame when someone outright asks me and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I always make sure I'm
I
honest, just
don't know
because
why.
why? But then there are all the other things that people might do around not like taking full responsibility for life, or not choosing to do certain things because, yeah, let's talk about this on its own in an episode in the future. I think this is really interesting.
I
And
agree.
listeners, what do you think about insecurities, and what are yours? And maybe we can talk again about this some point.
Yeah, please comment, please share, please get involved, and let us know your insecurities or how they've changed, any
How
interesting
you deal
topics.
with them.
Yeah, how you deal with them. We want to share. Thanks for
See you
listening,
next week.
everyone. See you
Bye.
next week.